often refer to this one line in Sri Aurobindo's Savitri, which says that wherever there is ignorance, there suffering too must come. So, what is the fundamental ignorance that is at the root of every suffering, whether it's the suffering of jealousy, whether it's the suffering of pain, whether it's the suffering of fear of loss? It boils down to one thing: forgetting that God is present in every equation of life. So I'm afraid of losing something if I forget that the divine is present in the thing I'm losing, in the thing that will come to me in its place, that the divine is orchestrating every single thing. What Krishna says in the Gita, that all creatures are mounted by me on the machine of Maya, and they do exactly my will. Not even a leaf falls without my will. So if I forget that this divine will is orchestrating everything, is orchestrating every interaction I'm having, every detour I'm taking, then I'll suffer, because to live life without that background remembrance, life becomes very tough, because we are in the midst of the unknown all the time. The only known we have in the midst of all this unknown is the divine presence. And if we remember that that divine presence is all the time there, we can't take a breath without it, that we are never alone. In fact, Krishna tells Arjuna in the Gita that whatever you're attached to, one by one will be taken away. Only my breath in you, O Parth, will accompany you into your last moment and beyond. So this presence is there all the time, but we human beings live as if it's not there. We know it, we read it, but involved in day-to-day living, we constantly forget it's there. We constantly live as if we have to solve, we have to battle life, we have to find solutions, but we forget that something all knowing, all loving, and all powerful is already working out solutions for us. So whenever we suffer, this beautiful line, wherever there is ignorance, there suffering too must come. What is my ignorance? I've forgotten mother. I've forgotten she's there. I feel I'm left alone to my knees, isn't it? So this is not in your PDF, but there are these gorgeous lines from Savitri. I'll just read them out. Between, behind our life, the deathless rose. So deathless is immortal, the divine presence is immortal. Rose is a symbol of love. Mother gives it the name love for the divine, right? So Sri Aurobindo in this metaphor has called this divine presence, which is everywhere, the deathless rose. So between us, behind our life, the deathless rose. Across the covert air, covert is hidden, the spirit breathes. So the mind breathes a different air, the spirit breathes a different air. So this deathless rose is across the covert air the spirit breathes, a body of cosmic beauty and joy. So this God which is behind everything is a body of cosmic beauty and joy. It's cosmic, it's everywhere, unseen, unguessed by the blind, suffering world. The world is blind and therefore it suffers. This body of delight, which is the deathless rose, is unseen and unguessed by the blind, suffering world, climbing from nature's deep, surrendered heart. So this deathless rose, the God present, presence in all things, climbs from nature's deep surrendered heart. Nature is always in surrender to the divine because it doesn't have a mind. So, climbing from nature's deep surrendered heart, it blooms forever at the feet of God. So, this God essence, the deathless rose, is always in surrender to itself. Love has two poles, aspiration and matter, which is also the divine presence, and what it's aspiring to is also the divine presence. So, this deathless rose blooms forever at the feet of God, fed by life's sacrificial mysteries. So, this deathless rose, which is the divine presence in us, it is nourished by life's sacrificial mysteries. Sacrificial, all the pains, all the joys we go through are the sacrificial mysteries which water the blossoming of this deathless rose within us. Last time we said in Life Divine, Sri Aurobindo has written a beautiful passage where he says that every pain you go through is used as raw material by the superconscious, the God presence inside us, and churned and returned to the surface as growth, as compassion, as joy. So, this deathless rose inside us uses all the sacrificial mysteries of life. Sometimes we feel sacrificed, but all that is used to nurture and create the ultimate blossoming of this deathless rose. It blooms forever at the feet of God, fed by life's sacrificial mysteries. Here too, its bud is born in human breast. Here too, in me too, the bud of the deathless rose is in the human breast, the psychic being. So here too, its bud is born in human breast. Then by a touch, a presence, or a voice, the world is turned into a temple ground. So this deathless rose is inside us as the psychic being. And when there's a touch, maybe the touch of the guru, a presence or a voice, then it awakens and its inner seeing awakens. And the world is turned into a temple ground. You're walking on sacred ground everywhere because the psychic being sees what the mind doesn't, that everything is indeed the divine. Sri Aurobindo writes that when this vision opens and you look at a tree, it's not a mental knowing that the tree is divine presence. You actually see it. You see everything pulsating and vibrating with the divine presence. Then, by a touch, a presence, or a voice, the world is turned into a temple ground, and all discloses the unknown beloved. What marvelous lines! Just these last two lines. The world is turned into a temple ground. There's no place I walk that's not holy. And all discloses the unknown beloved, the one you love in your heart. It's smiling at you in all things. So I'm reading this passage again without explanation. It's very, very beautiful. Between, behind our life, the deathless rose. Across the covert air, the spirit breathes. A body of cosmic beauty and joy, unseen, unguessed by the blind, suffering world, climbing from nature's deep, surrendered heart. It blooms forever at the feet of God, fed by life's sacrificial mysteries. Here too, its bud is born in human breasts. Then by a touch, a presence, or a voice, the world is turned into a temple ground, and all discloses the unknown beloved. The world is turned into a temple ground, and all discloses the unknown beloved. Now on page 3 of the PDF, Sri Aurobindo's words from Synthesis of Yoga. Our one objective must be the divine himself, to whom, knowingly or unknowingly, something always aspires in our secret nature. So beautiful. Sri Aurobindo is saying that knowingly or unknowingly, something in us, in our secret nature, always aspires to the divine. What is this part of us that always aspires to the divine? The psychic being. Mother says the psychic being is always turned towards the divine like a sunflower towards the sun. It doesn't know. In Savitri, there's a beautiful line describing it. Accepting worship as its only law. For psychic being, there's no other law. Worship is its only law. So our one objective must be the divine himself, to whom, knowingly or unknowingly, something always aspires in our secret nature. There must be a large, many-sided, single concentration of thought on the idea, the perception, the vision, the awakening touch, the soul's realization of the one divine. There must be a flaming concentration of the heart on the seeking of the all and eternal. And once we have found him, a deep plunging and immersion in the possession and ecstasy of the all beautiful. So there must be a large, many-sided yet single concentration of thought on the idea. So a one-sided concentration is mother's in this picture. So mother, that's one-sided. But a many-sided concentration is mother is the peace in my mind also. Mother is the presence in another person also. Mother is in this floor. Mother is in the air. Mother is in the Brahman of Vedanta. Brahman, mother is in the Krishna idol of the dualist. So God is not as small as we think. And in Sri Aurobindo, particularly in his integral yoga, he synthesizes all approaches to God and he says, accept all of them and don't put God into a box as small as your mind because God can never fit into a box. God is something that exceeds every concept you have of him. So he's saying there must be a large, many-sided yet single concentration of the thought on the idea, the perception, the vision, the awakening touch, the soul's realization of the one divine. There must be a flaming concentration of the heart on the seeking of the all and eternal. That is aspiration. The flaming concentration of the heart is aspiration. And when once we have found him, a deep plunging and immersion in the possession and ecstasy of the all beautiful. God, why does the human soul seek after God? Because he is the all beautiful. There's nothing in the external world as beautiful as him. Sri Aurobindo said that if once man could glimpse the treasures of spiritual riches that await him in his own depths, he would leave everything and want nothing else. But because we haven't glimpsed it, sometimes it's not a priority in our life. But he says that if once you can glimpse it, not the God outside, but the God which is not the God which is in the temple, but the God which is everywhere. So there was a very beautiful story in a publication called Sri Aurobindo's Action. I believe it comes from Pondicherry. So there was a story of a person who wrote about a girl who was singing a song very beautifully in a temple of Vittala. And she sang so beautifully that this person was drawn to her. It's not in the PDF, Varun. It's not in the PDF. This person was drawn to her, and she had a little placard saying, I want to learn. Just that. On a little slate board, she had written, I want to learn. So he asked her that, what does this mean? So she said, I come from a very poor family and we just don't have enough to put me and my brother in school, but I really want to study. My father was a classical musician, but now I'm not able to study. So this man was haunted by her story and he kept thinking about it. And finally, he decided that at the most her education would cost 2-3 thousand a month, and that's how much he spends on a meal out with his family. So he approached her family and he educated both her and her brother. And she grew up and she became a singer. And she was at a concert singing once, and she was asked that where did who do you attribute your success to? So without thinking, she said Vittala. So the interviewer said, "Oh, Vittala, the idol in the temple." So she said, "No, no, not that Vittala. The Vittala outside the temple. The man who paid for my education and the man who made this moment possible." And then she said, Kaka, Kaka is the person who paid for her. Kaka, if you're listening to this, just know that for me you are Vittala, the god outside the temple. So it's a very beautiful story, and these little gestures of human kindness, we are constantly glimpsing the Vittala outside the temple, the God outside the temple. And in Sri Aurobindo's yoga, he says that you can start with idol worship, but don't limit your God to the God inside the temple. You'll find the real God as the Vittala outside the temple if you look for him. And these lines in Savitri, which we just read, then the whole world becomes the temple floor and all discloses the unseen beloved. That's what we want to work towards. That inner vision where the whole world becomes the temple floor and all discloses the unseen beloved. So further, Sri Aurobindo says, Kalyan Shraddha, an equal heart is needed for perfection. But not only a passive equality, there must be a sense of divine power making for good behind all experiences. So beautiful. There must be a sense of the divine power making for good behind all experiences. What we just said, the superconscient in us is using the pain of all experiences and making for good, returning it to the surface consciousness as joy, as light, as bliss. So this is on the third page of the PDF if you're looking for it. An equal heart is needed for perfection, but not only a passive equality, there must be a sense of divine power making for good behind all experiences, a faith and will that can turn the poisons of the world into nectar. So beautiful. A faith and will that can turn the poisons of the world into nectar. See the happier spiritual intention behind adversity, the mystery of love behind suffering, the flower of divine strength and joy in the seed of pain. So these are beautiful words and they touch us, but our challenge is, can we live them? Each of these words are living, can be made into living experiences. There must be, Sri Aurobindo says, a sense of divine power making for good behind all experiences. So if I'm going through something painful, if something is worrying me, am I getting caught up in the narrative of the pain and the prophecies of gloom and doom my mind is saying? Or am I remembering There is a divine power making for good behind this experience. Can you live that? If something is bothering you, can you really believe these lines of Gurudev that there is a divine power making for good behind all experiences? Behind this experience of pain or anxiety that I'm going through, there is a divine power making for good. Can you remember that? Can you believe it not only when you're sitting in this beautiful surrounding, but can you remember this when you're having conflict? Can you remember this when you're shunning someone because you feel you'll catch something from them or whatever else? Can you remember this, that there is a divine power making for good behind all experiences? A faith and will that can turn the poisons of the world into nectar. See the happier spiritual intention behind adversity. Such so beautifully he's worded it. My God, nobody can word it like him. See the happier spiritual intention. There's a happier spiritual intention behind all adversity. Behind the smallest adversity, there is a happier spiritual intention. Mother has a plan for you. The mystery of love behind suffering. You are made to suffer not because you're bad or life is bad, but because you're so intensely loved by the divine that he has to feed this raw material of pain into your being so that he can churn it and return it to the surface as strength and growth and evolution. When you're going through pain, you're sometimes most dearly loved by the mother. Just know this. The mystery of love behind suffering, the flower of divine strength and joy in the seed of pain. The, exactly what we said. The seed of pain is going to flower into divine strength and joy. Marvelous words. I'm going to read them again. And I suggest you have the PDF, read them every day and make an intention to live them. An equal heart is needed for perfection, but not only a passive equality. There must be a sense of divine power making for good behind all experiences. A sense of divine power making for good behind all experiences. A faith and will that can turn the poisons of the world into nectar. If you have this faith and will, even when the appearances look threatening, you will see that that painful experience yields a nectar, nectar of joy and growth. See the happier spiritual intention behind adversity, the mystery of love behind suffering, the flower of divine strength and joy in the seed of pain. Mother says, the very best happens always to those who have put their entire trust in the divine and the divine alone. The very best happens always to those who have put their entire trust in the divine and divine alone. So I am not, when I'm in this state, I am not trusting appearances. Appearances are spelling doom, failure, whatever. But I'm not trusting appearances. I have this unconditional faith that mother's with me. Wherever I'm taken, she's with me and I'm going to be fine. Never mind what the appearance of life. Mother is bigger than there's that other gorgeous lines in Savitri. Whatever the appearance we must bear, whatever the appearance of life, however it appears to us and have to bear it, whatever the appearance we must bear, whatever our strong ills, ill fortune, whatever our strong ills and present fate, when nothing we can see, to the mental seeing, nothing we can see but drift, randomness and bale, sorrow. A mighty guidance leads us still through all. All this is there, whatever the appearance we must bear, whatever our strong ills and present fate, when nothing we can see but drift and bail, a mighty guidance leads us still through all, not an ordinary guidance, a mighty guidance. And if we remember that in the moment of difficulty, we surmount the difficulty much faster. The difficulties come to everyone who is free from difficulties. But how we respond to the difficulty determines the final outcome. The more we get pulled into unconsciousness, sorrow, depression, the longer the difficulty will take. But if we stay anchored in a bright, luminous fate, that mother is bigger than any difficulty. We say, don't tell God you have a big problem. Tell your problem I have a big God, isn't it? Any problem is very small in comparison to mother and her mind. So if we constantly believe that, I've always seen it when the most sort of conscious people are also hit by difficulty, but they go through it with so much faith and a smile that sooner or later the difficulty fizzles out. It's not that conscious people aren't hit by difficulty, they are hit, but they don't crumble, they don't get depressed, they don't get, actually, I've seen it. They are constantly anchored in mother, they go about their life as if nothing has happened, and they come on their feet. They just don't come to harm. Whereas when difficulty comes and I give in to gloom and depression, well, yeah, that has its own consequences because that cuts off mother from us. Mother said it 100 times that if you give in to depression and fear, even if I'm right beside you, you shut your doors to me. But if you keep a luminous faith, I'll carry you through it. There's no doubt I'll carry you through any difficulty. So I just heard of one lady who was diagnosed with cancer and she was to have a surgery the next day. But she's so robust in her faith and people that she says, no, no, I'm going to buy saman for pickle and put it to dry because after my surgery, I have to make the pickle. Now, you would think that under such circumstances, a person will be only preoccupied with how will I go, whatever. But when you have that faith, you're not constantly dwelling on the difficulty. You have the capacity to go through life normally. And you should. You should be most normal in moments of difficulty. The more abnormal you make it, the bigger it gets. So, uh, Mother says further, people do not know how important is faith, how faith is a miracle, a creator of miracles. If you expect at every moment to be lifted up and pulled towards the divine, He will come and lift you, and He will be there quite close, closer, ever closer. People do not know how important faith is. That's why they suffer. Wherever there is ignorance, their suffering too must come. But if you know about the deathless rose we read about at the beginning, the divine presence, and you have faith in it, faith is how faith is a miracle, a creator of miracles. If you expect at every moment to be lifted up and pulled towards the divine, if you expect this, He will come and lift you. He will be there quite close, closer, ever closer. So, yeah, faith is really the worker of miracles. Now we come to bottom of page 1 in the PDF. It so shows words. Don't fight your doubting mind. Don't suppress it. Rather, on the contrary, you simply bring more energy into trust. You simply be indifferent to your doubting mind. Nothing else can be done. Indifference is the key. You simply be indifferent. It is there. Accept it. Bring your energies more and more towards trust and love, because it is the same energy which becomes doubt. It is the same energy which becomes trust. So beautiful. So something has gone wrong, and your mind is constantly thinking, this will happen, that will happen. Oh my God, what will be the outcome? What are we told? Don't don't try to push away your doubt. Be indifferent to it and instead feed your faith. Remember, Mother. Actually, create a thought. Mother is there. She's looking after me. And if Mother is looking after me, the most powerful force in the world is looking after me. Nothing can touch me. And then feed that faith. Indifference is the key. You simply be indifferent to the doubt. It is there. Accept it. Bring your energies towards trust and love, because it is the same energy which becomes doubt. It is the same energy which becomes trust. Remain indifferent to doubt. The moment, we dramatize our doubt also. I have mother. What is this? What kind of a child I am? We take a perverse joy in whipping ourselves for having doubt also. So that is totally counterproductive. Just be indifferent to it. The moment you are indifferent, your cooperation is broken. Your cooperation with doubt is broken. The more you think about it, the more it grows. You are not feeding it, because it is through attention that anything is fed. Faith is not belief, it is love. Faith is not belief because it is not half, it is total. Belief can be positive or negative. Belief can be, yeah, I believe in mother, and I believe that mother will bail me out of this. And another time, will she really do it? Suppose she doesn't do it, what will happen to me? So that is belief, that is not faith. Faith is not belief. Faith is not belief because there is no doubt in it. So, how can you believe? Faith is not a rationalization at all, neither for nor against, neither this or that. Faith is a trusting, a deep trusting, a love. You don't find any rationalization for it. It simply is. So, what to do? So, where do you find this faith? Shraddha. Mother says, Shraddha, see in Sanskrit, Shraddha is truth and Dha is holding on to it. So, Shraddha, Sanskrit is beautiful. In English, we don't find a word very close to Shraddha. Shraddha is holding on to your deepest truth. The key word is truth. So, deep inside, there is a Kalyan Shraddha, a knowing. It's not a faith, it's the psychic being knows that I'm always looked after, and that is without exception. So, Shraddha is the knowing of the psychic being. Doubt belongs to the mind. So, the mind will oscillate between, will she do it for me? Maybe she won't do it, maybe she will do it. That's belief. But that's not faith. Faith is whole, belief is half. So, faith is not a belief because there's no doubt in it. So, remember, with a master, you're not on a head trip. You can't be on a head trip with her. You can't play mental gymnastics with her. Doubt and belief are all head trips. Yeah, when we are talking to the mother, mother, will you do it? If you don't do it, what will happen? Suppose now you'll tell me that this is for your highest good and you make something bad. All kinds of mental gymnastics we play with her. But it's said that doubt and belief are all head trips. With a master, you're on a heart trip. With a master, you can't be on a head trip. You have to be on a heart trip. And the heart doesn't know what doubt is. Heart doesn't know what belief is. Heart simply knows trust. Heart is just like a small child. A small child clings to the father's hand, and wherever the father is going, the child is going, neither trusting nor doubting. You see, the psychic being is always shown like a child, no? They say if you have dreams of a child, it's the psychic being. So the psychic being is like a small child who is holding the mother's hand, and he's not thinking, is the mother taking me into a storm? Is she taking me into a garden? My mother's holding my child. My mother's holding my hand. I'm just walking. I don't care. Wherever she takes me, she knows where I have to go. So a small child clings to the father's hand, and wherever the father is going, the child is going, neither trusting nor doubting. The child is undivided. The child is never doubting where its mother is taking him, never has doubt. Doubt is half, belief is half. A child is still total, whole. He simply goes with the father wherever he is going. When a disciple becomes just like a child, then only these gifts of highest peak of consciousness can be given. When we are like a child in Mother's Yoga, constantly there's a reminder, be a child. Sri Aurobindo says in my yoga, there are no gurus. The only gurus there are Mother and Sri Aurobindo. And if, like Indra Devi wanted to take Dilip Kumar Roy as a guru, and Dilip Kumar Roy, a man of his stature, he discouraged her 100 times till she insisted. And then he wrote to Sri Aurobindo, and Sri Aurobindo gave him permission that, okay, you can take her as your disciples. So in our yoga, nobody has the authority to be a guru except Mother and Sri Aurobindo. Sri Aurobindo says, yes, in my yoga, even if you're teaching, you treat yourself as a child leading other children to the ultimate parent. But nobody has the authority to be a guru. And that's when you lead the best, when you yourself feel like you're a child being led by the mother, isn't it? If you become a guru and a pandit, you stop being a child. You lose out on something very special. So, when a disciple becomes just like a child, then only these gifts of the highest peak of consciousness can be given. When you become the deepest valley of reception, then the highest peaks of consciousness can be given to you. Only a valley can receive a peak. A disciple should be absolutely feminine, receptive, like a womb. Like, you come in whatever way, I'm here. You take me wherever you want. So now these are words of Elif Shafak from 40 Rules of Love. Neither a drop of kindness nor a speck of evil will remain unreciprocated. So, because everything is God and God is one mind, one being, I keep giving you the analogy of a tree. Each of us is like different trunks, but we are interconnected by a common root, which is God. So, if this tree gives out poison to another tree, that poison will go through that tree, circulate in the root, and come back to the tree which gave out that poison. So neither a drop of kindness nor a speck of evil will remain unreciprocated. Fear not the plots, deception, or tricks of others. If someone is setting a trap, remember, so is God. Anyone who's setting a trap, so is God. He is the biggest plotter. Not even a leaf stirs outside God's knowledge. Simply and fully believe in that. Whatever God does, He does beautifully. So never fear manipulations of others, because if somebody is trying to manipulate you, they themselves are being manipulated by the supreme manipulator. Further, The universe is one being. Everything and everyone is interconnected through an invisible web of stories. Whether we are aware of it or not, we are all in a silent conversation. So I may think I've killed the person in my mind, but it's only a thought, but it's not a thought. If I have that vindictive energy towards anyone in my mind, the energy of that will reach the person. Remember, not a drop of kindness or a speck of evil remains unreciprocated. The very act of thinking good for somebody, you're inviting good from the universe back to you. The very act of thinking bad for anyone, you're inviting the universe to give it back to you. Everyone is interconnected through an invisible web of stories. Whether we are aware of it or not, we are all in a silent conversation. Do no harm. Practice compassion and do not gossip behind anyone's back. Not even a seemingly innocent remark, a tall order. But what is being said here that even that seemingly innocent remark is vibrating in the ether and as a vibration will come back to you. The words that come out of our mouths do not vanish, but are perpetually stored in infinite space, and they will come back to us in due time. One man's pain will hurt us all. One man's joy will make everyone smile. We are not as different from everyone as we think we are. And we should stop thinking that I exist only inside this. So if harm is done outside, never mind. But any harm done outside will come back to me. So now these beautiful words from Savitri, page 456. So this is Narad telling Savitri's father, he's just told her she's going to lose her husband in a year. And both the parents are, of course, Ashwapati is more contained in showing his concern. The queen mother, having a mother's heart, is much more vocal about it. So he's answering them, O Ashwapati, Savitri's father, random seem the ways along whose banks your footsteps stray or run, in casual hours or moments of the gods. Yet your least stumblings are foreseen above. You know, when I first read this line, it shifted something in me for good. Your least stumblings are foreseen above. What is a stumble? A mistake. I stumble over something and fall. But your least, your smallest stumbles are foreseen above. So I haven't stumbled because I'm careless or I'm wrong or life is wrong. It's part of her plan. Your least stumblings are foreseen above. Infallibly, the curves of life are drawn. The curves, the different ups and downs of life are perfectly drawn by the artist hand of God. Infallible is perfect. Infallibly, the curves of life are drawn following the stream of time through the unknown. They are led by a clue, the calm, immortal steep. The curves of life, the ups and downs of life are led by a clue, the calm, immortal steep. Then page 34 of Savitri. This too, the supreme diplomat, God, he's the supreme diplomat, can use. He makes our fall a means for greater rise. For into ignorant nature's gusty field, into the half-ordered chaos of mortal life, a formless power, the self of eternal light, follow in the shadow of the Spirit's descent. The twin duality, Purusha and Prakriti, forever one, chooses its home mid the tumults of the senses. Now we come to the subtitle called Freedom. Someone asked Mother, what is liberty? And mother answers, liberty is to depend only on the divine. So simple. We think liberty is nirvana, something, something, but she makes it so simple. When you depend only on the divine, you're free. Because nobody has the power to hurt you because you're not only dependent on them. They can do whatever they like. But I'm dependent on mother for my sustenance and joy. And that is real freedom. So liberty is to depend only on the divine. If you have a strong and conscious will, and your will is centered around the psychic, then you can have a taste of liberty. Otherwise, you're a slave of all the outside influences. If you have a strong and conscious will, and your will is centered around the psychic, the will to say, I want only you, tuhi, only you, only you, only you. If you have that strong psychic will, then you can have a taste of liberty. Otherwise, you're a slave of all the outside influences. Freedom does not come from outer circumstances, but from inner liberation. So beautiful. It doesn't come, we think that if I get to do what I want to do, I'm free. But very often I get to do it and I'm still miserable. My mind will find something else to be miserable about. So freedom does not come from outer circumstances, but from inner liberation. What is inner liberation? Exclusive dependence on the divine. When I draw everything I need to live, I draw all my joy, all my strength, all my peace only from the divine. Find your soul, unite with it. Let it govern your life and you will be free, Mother says. Blessing. Further, she says, freedom is to do only what the Supreme Consciousness makes us do. In every other case, one is a slave, whether of the will of others or of conventions, or of laws or vital impulses or of mental fancies, or above all of the desires of the ego. Freedom is far from meaning and disorder. Freedom is far from meaning, disorder, and confusion. It is the inner liberty that we must have. And if you have it, nobody can take it away from you. So beautiful. If you have this inner liberty of making the divine your all, nobody can take it away from you. The only true liberty is that obtained by union with the divine. One can unite with the divine only when the ego is mastered. Liberation, the disappearance of the ego. When instead of seeing my face in everything, I see the divine's face in everything, then that is a moment of disappearance of the ego. Otherwise, everything is about me. He got, I didn't get, he didn't call me, didn't give me enough attention. When I'm living like that, I'm very far away from the divine, no matter how much puja and mantra jap I do. Because the less entangled I am in the ego, the closer I am to the divine. The more the ego comes forward, the more the divine retreats. So, suppose my ego is really telling me, yesterday I spoke to this person and it was so nice. Now, today also, let me find a way to talk to the person. And there's no real need to talk to that person except an egoistic attachment. And simple things like that, use your will. No, I don't need to talk to the person to feel complete. And refrain from messaging the person or calling the person, and instead try and connect to the divine within you. Remind yourself, my ego tells me I need the ego boost of talking to the person, but actually I want the mother more. I want the divine more. I don't want actually the ego kick of talking to this person as much as I think I do. It's one example. Whatever is your addiction, which you feel that you can't live without it, small ways try. Don't fulfill that desire. And when you don't fulfill it, you'll realize the truth of Mother's words that there's a far greater joy in overcoming a desire than fulfilling it. Because every time you overcome the desire, you're replacing the object of desire with Mother. And that's a far more fulfilling feeling than what the object of desire will give you. So now these gorgeous lines from Savitri, we read earlier that the divine is all beautiful. And because he's all beautiful, something in our secret nature is always reaching out to him. So these lines, page 682, Savitri, whatever vision has escaped the eye, whatever happiness comes in dream and trance, the nectar spilled by love with trembling hands, the joy the cup of nature cannot hold, had crowded to the beauty of his face. So, this is in a part where Savitri has conquered death, death has dissolved his ominous form, and behind the mask of death, God, Yama is also the supreme God, right? So now the horrible mask of death is shed, and Savitri sees the beautiful form of God that is there behind this mask. And this passage describes that beautiful form. So it says, whatever vision had escaped the eye, whatever happiness comes in dream and trance, the nectar spilled by love with trembling hands. So beautiful. I keep feeling Sri Aurobindo is painting with words. As you read his words, you can actually see that image. God is holding a cup and his hands are trembling with love and spilling the nectar. The joy the cup of nature cannot hold. God is the joy that the cup of nature cannot hold. We are the cup of nature and we are too unconscious and we cannot hold it. But God is holding that cup of nectar. Were waiting in the, so the joy the cup of nature cannot hold had crowded to the beauty of his face, were waiting in the honey of his laugh. So all this had the nectar spilled by love with trembling hands, the joy the cup of nature cannot hold, all these had crowded to the beauty of his face, were waiting in the honey of his laugh. His laugh is sweet like honey. Things hidden by the silence of the hours, the ideas that find no voice on living lips, the soul's pregnant meeting with infinity, had come to birth in him and taken fire. So Savitri is now seeing that beautiful visage of God which is being described here. The ideas that find no voice on living lips, because these ideas are ineffable, anirvachaniya. The soul's pregnant meeting with infinity. When the soul meets infinity, it's a meeting pregnant with bliss and peace and joy. So the soul's pregnant meeting with infinity had come to birth in him, had come to birth in this form of God that Savitri is seeing, and taken fire, passion. The secret whisper of the flower and star revealed its meaning in his fathomless look. Look how beautifully Sri Aurobindo writes. You'd never think that a flower is a whisper, but every beautiful flower is whispering a message to us, isn't it? Why do we, much before I even knew about what Mother has written about flowers, whenever I'd feel unhappy, I'd just walk past a garden with flowers. And immediately looking at the flowers would brighten me. It's like flowers are sending an unheard whisper to us all the time. The secret whisper of the flower and star. revealed its meaning in his fathomless look. Whose fathomless look? The God that Savitri is seeing. His lips curved eloquent like a rose of dawn. So dawn is rosy, right? So in the metaphor, he's called dawn a rose. And he's saying the lips of this God curved, eloquent. Eloquent is something that clearly expresses its meaning. So his lips were so eloquent, they spoke to the soul. His lips curved eloquent like a rose of dawn. His smile that played with the wonder of the mind and stayed in the heart when it had left his mouth. So imagine this God. Each of us can imagine whatever God is to us, Krishna, Mother, whatever. A smile that played with the wonder of the mind. When God smiles, it plays with the wonder of our mind and stays in our heart even when we look away from the picture or the God stops smiling. If we look at a picture of mother smiling, even when we look away from that picture, that smile stays in our heart. So his smile that played with the wonder of the mind and stayed in the heart when it had left his mouth, glimmered with the radiance of the morning star, gemming the wide discovery of heaven. His gaze was the regard of eternity. So that Godhead's gaze was like eternity looking at you. Sometimes when we look into Mother or Sri Aurobindo's eyes, you get a sense of eternity. It's like eternity is looking at you. The spirit of its sweet and calm intent was a wise home of gladness and divulged the light of ages in the mirth of the hours. A son of wisdom in a miracled grove. So this Godhead is like a son of wisdom in a beautiful garden, in a miracled grove. Okay? So I'm reading this passage again. Think of whatever visage of God appeals to you and apply these lines to that. Okay? Whatever vision has escaped the eye, whatever happiness comes in dream and trance, the nectar spilled by love with trembling hands, the joy the cup of nature cannot hold, had crowded to the beauty of his face, were waiting in the honey of his laugh, things hidden by the silence of the hours, the ideas that find no voice on living lips, the soul's pregnant meeting with infinity had come to birth in him and taken fire. The secret whisper of the flower and star revealed its meaning in his fathomless look. His lips curved eloquent like a rose of dawn, his smile that played with the wonder of the mind and stayed in the heart when it had left his mouth, glimmered with radiance of the morning star, gemming the wide discovery of heaven. His gaze was the regard of eternity, the spirit of its sweetness and calm intent was a wise home of gladness, and divulged the light of the ages in the mirth of the hours, a son of wisdom in a miracled grove. So now let's be quiet and let's assimilate what we really want to take home from this class. So feeling Mother's presence in your heart, and that presence, the very fabric of it is Kalyan Shraddha, holding on to its deepest truth that everything is God, that nothing exists outside God. An equal heart is needed for perfection. There must be a sense of divine power making for good behind all appearances. Kalyan Shraddha is nothing but this, a sense of the divine power making for good behind all appearances. Repeat this in your heart. A sense of the divine power making for good behind all appearances. So if I have this sense constantly with me, I don't get tricked by appearances into feeling anxious or small. So we learned with this beautiful mantra we did in the morning class also. It's from the Upanishad. It says, Anandam, Anandam is joy, Brahmano Vidwan. Brahmano is that one divine essence, Brahman in everything. Vidwan is one who knows this. One who knows that there's this divine power making for good behind all appearances, because that divine power is in everything. Anandam Brahmano Vidwan Na Bibheti. Bibheti is frightened. A person who knows this, who constantly has this sense of the divine power making for good behind all appearances, is never frightened. Na bibheti kutas chaneti. Kuta in Sanskrit means where. Kuta gachati, where are you going? So kutas chaneti, wherever he goes, he is never frightened. Kada chaneti, whenever at any instant in his life, he is never frightened. So I'll repeat each line twice, second time with me. Anandam Brahmano Vidwan. With me. Anandam Brahmano Vidwan. Na bibheti kutasyaneti. Na bibheti kutasyaneti. Na bibheti kadachaniti. Na bibheti kadachaniti. Let's do the whole mantra together. Anandam Brahmano Vidwan Na Bibheti Kutasyaniti Na Bibheti Kadachaniti. So beautiful, repeating in your heart, Na bibheti, never afraid. Kutaschaneti, wherever I go. Kadachaneti, at whatever instant of time, when I have this sense of the divine power making for good behind all appearances, there's never fear at any instant in time. So now, say these affirmations based on what you've heard. Exhale, soften the belly and say, I am safe, believing it. Inhale. Second exhalation, I am protected. At third exhalation, I live in a friendly universe because the universe is the body of God. So exhale, saying I live in a friendly universe. Last exhalation, the universe has my back, or if you prefer it, my life unfolds in the hands of grace. I am safe, believe it, and say it on the exhalation. I am protected. I live in a friendly universe. My life unfolds in the hands of grace. So throughout the day, whenever anxiety comes, we remember this beautiful definition of Kalyan Shraddha, the very fabric of the psychic being, faith. Kalyan Shraddha is the sense of the divine power making for good behind all appearances. So let me tap into that sense in my heart that yes, this appearance is threatening, but Mother's with me. She is the divine power that will make for good out of this. And with this knowing, I take 4 deep breaths on the first exhalation, saying I am safe. Second exhalation, I am protected. Third exhalation, I live in a friendly universe. Last exhalation, my life unfolds in Mother's hands in her grace, according to her plan. And then hands together in a namaste. Let's end with 3 Oms.